This is a reading of Secret Life of Walter Mitty by Aya and Josefine from 1. O, and Aya will begin. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. "We're going through," said the commander's voice, like thin ice breaking. He wore his full-dressed uniform with the heavily braided white cap pulled down rakishly over one cold eye. "We can't make it, sir. It's spoiling for a hurricane, if you ask me." "I'm not asking you, Lieutenant Burke," said the commander. "Throw on the power lights. Brew her up to 8,500. We're going through." The pounding of the cylinders increased. The commander stared at the icing forming on the pilot window. He walked over and twisted the row of complicated dials. "Switch on number 8 auxiliary," he shouted. "Switch on number 8 auxiliary," repeated Lieutenant Burke. "Full strength in number 3 turret," shouted the commander. "Full strength in number 3 turret." The crew, bending to their various tasks in the huge hurtling 8-engine Navy hydroplane, looked at each other and grinned. "The old man will get us through," they said to one another. "The old man ain't afraid of hell." "Not so fast. You're driving too fast," said Mrs. Mitty. "What are you driving so fast for?" Said Walter Mitty. He looked at his wife in the seat beside him with shocked astonishment. She seemed grossly unfamiliar, like a strange woman who had yelled at him in the crowd. "You were up to 55, she said. "You know I don't like it when you go more than 40. You were up to 55. Walter Mitty drove on toward Waterbury in silence, the road of NS 202 through the worst stormy in 20 years of Navy flying fading in the remote, intimate airways of his mind. "You're tensed up again," said Mrs. Mitty. "It's one of your days. I wish you would let Dr. Renshaw look you over."
And now I'm going to read Josefine. Walter Mitty stopped the car in front of the building where his wife went to have her hair done. "Remember to get those overshoes while I'm having my hair done," she said. "I don't need overshoes," said Mitty. She put on her mirror back into her bag. "We've been all through that," she said, getting out of the car. "You're not a young man any longer." He raised the engine a little. Why don't you wear your gloves? Have you lost your gloves?" Walter Mitty reached in a pocket and brought out the gloves. He put them on, but after she had turned and gone into the building and he had driven on to a red light, he took them off again. "Pick it up, brother," snapped the cop as the light changed, and Mitty hastily pulled on his gloves and lurched ahead. He drove around the streets, aimless for a time, and then he drove past the hospital on his way to the parking lot. "It's the millionaire banker, Wellington Macmillan," said the pretty nurse. "Yes," said Walter Mitty, removing his gloves slowly. "Who has the case?" "Dr. Winshaw and Dr. Benbow, but there are 2 specialists here, Dr. Remington from New York and Dr. Pritchard Mitford from London." He flew over. A door opened, a long, cold corridor, and Dr. Winshaw came out. He looked distraught and haggard. "Hello, Mitty," he said. "We're having the devil's own time with Macmillan, the millionaire banker and close personal friend of Roosevelt. Obstructosis of the ductal tract, tertiary. Wish you'd take a look at him." "Glad to," said Mitty. In the operation room there were whispered instructions. "Dr. Remington, Dr. Mitty, Dr. Pritchard, Dr. Mitty, I've read your book on officers," said Pritchard Mitford, shaking hands. "A brilliant performance, sir." "Thank you," said Walter Mitty. "Didn't know you were in the States," Mitty grumbled Remington. "Calls to Newcastle, bringing Mitford and me up here for a tertiary." "You are very kind," said Mitty. A huge, complicated machine connected to the operation table with many tubes and wires began at this moment to go puckata.
And that was the reading of The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. Yes!